Here on the country's largest oil field, almost every well is ablaze, torched by Saddam's departing troops. It's a nightmare sight and an environmental catastrophe, perhaps unequaled in history.
This is what most remember.
But
But Kuwait is very different now.
Rising from each of the fires, a dense cloud of toxic smoke, adding hundreds of tons of pollution.
Rich in oil, there's no need to chase the tourist dollar. So few travellers see the Kuwait of today. A different place and a different deployment. For 22 years, the British military mission in Kuwait has been embedded in their forces, offering advice and training. Now, for the first time, instructors from the British Army School of Ceremonial are helping the Kuwaitis brush up on their drill.
We've tried to get them to instigate using their own instructors to get in amongst their people and critique them as much as possible over the last 4 days. And it seems to be working. There's been definite improvement since we got here.
Your arm's lazy. Force it to the side of the body. Good.
The biggest challenge is probably that in their culture they're quite a relaxed sort of people. So whereas in the British Army we don't tend to get that relaxed about anything. So trying to bring that to the drill square, I suppose, is the biggest challenge.
The drill tips are timely. Next month, the Kuwaiti equivalent to Sandhurst celebrates its 50th anniversary. The proceedings will be watched by the Emir and broadcast to the nation.
We had some slight issues with our hands, so they gave us this advice, and there are many advices. Slight, maybe some tiny bits of advices, but it would help us on the big day in front of our Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed.
Since the liberation of Kuwait, we as an armed forces, we started to think of how can we train and educate selected officer for high post. And to be honest, we've been looking at the whole globe, and we selected the staff education, the British staff education that time. And since then, we are in a very good relationship, actually stronger relationship with the United Kingdom Minister of Defence Staff Education. This is why this college is very modelled today on Shrivenham. Maybe 80% of this college curriculum is very British and British doctrine. One of the biggest British contingent in the whole Middle East officers is under my command. I'm very privileged in that, and this is what, just to give you a clue of how strong is the relationship.
Turn about looking, so you can see the call sign, patrolling off in a single file formation now.
Further out of town, 4 rifles are training the Kuwaitis in patrol drills.
Right, every so often you'll see them check the rear of the patrol as well, to ensure that there's no follow-up by the enemy.
This morning on the tactics course, what we've been doing is going through basic patrolling skills, so just moving across the ground and different ways in which we can do that. Both the Kuwaiti Land Forces and the Kuwaiti National Guard are involved in that training, and this morning they've been working together, which is something they don't often do in this country.
What you would call a zigzag formation?
Zigzag?
Zigzag, yeah.
Okay. الحين راح يوريكم طريقة الزجزاج.
We are new faces to them, so we need to build that relationship up before we can do any training whatsoever. You know, it's all about taking the time to drink some chai and eat with them and build that relationship, and then we can go into the more soldiering kind of aspect of it.
I've been amazed by how easy it is to fit into the Arab culture, particularly in Kuwait. They are the most hospitable people that I have come across. They reach out to you, their friendship and are just so willing for you to become a part of their community. What helps us is that we don't live in a military patch. We live in and amongst the Kuwaiti citizens.
Mano's board, port side. Away swimmer the watch, port side. Away seaboat, port side. Carry on with the swimmer! Carry on with the swimmer!
It's not just the army here in Kuwait. HMS Blythe and HMS Middleton have been welcoming Kuwaitis on board to demonstrate drills.
Smoke alarm, smoke alarm, smoke alarm. Smoke alarm in the hangar. Location marking 1 Foxtrot.
Fire, fire, fire! Fire in the hangar! Fire, fire, fire! Fire in the hangar!
In coming weeks, they will also work alongside the Kuwaiti Navy, surveying the Gulf seabed.
Here, their sentry's been posted. Sentry's name is E.T. Hampson, relief due in 2-5 minutes.
There's little doubt that this relationship is special. But what of the future?
The Kuwaiti government has expressed an interest in the deployment of an additional British presence, British military presence in Kuwait. So we're looking at all the possibilities for that. We're not talking about a major deployment, I don't think, but we're looking at what might work for both the United Kingdom and for Kuwait.
Kuwait has changed over the years, certainly since I was here last in 2003. But it plays a critical role in the Gulf. It's not the biggest army, it's not the most capable army, but actually they pride themselves on being the brokers, on being the people that everybody turns to when there's an issue. Current Gulf crisis as an example with Qatar, and it prides itself on playing that role. If you were to mention Kuwait to the vast majority of the UK at large, they would think, wasn't that invaded at some time? Yes, 20 odd years ago. Is it still a major player on the world stage? Probably not. But that suits Kuwait because it doesn't trumpet its position. Because I think the worst thing you can do if you're an interlocutor is to go around, making, noises about how good you are. Kuwait doesn't do that. It does things very sort of, it plays its card close to its chest. And as I say, it's very clever by the way it does business. So yeah, I think it's, Kuwait is hugely important, not just to UK interests, but to Western interests in the Gulf. I think it's a great foil and it's a great interlocutor with Iran.
The UK's relationship with Kuwait reaches back to Queen Victoria's reign. For Brexit Britain, that link may become even more important.
They're in a boom time at the moment, I think, in terms of their economy. They're thinking to our own nation's choice over leaving Europe and starting to see perhaps an opportunity to become even closer with the United Kingdom and see trading and prosperity opportunities that might exist when the time comes that we have left Europe, and starting to build on some of those. So I think Kuwait is really in a build at the moment, a boom period at the moment. The history between the two countries is vast, and Kuwait probably has a slightly longer memory of that history than the UK does.